Hello, this is Scott Churchson from Tales from the Film Set, not the Sports Den, but welcome just the same to Spanglish Sports World and Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 249 and 250. Kindly remember to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android. When you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Both apps are free, so you know what? You can't beat the price no matter what. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Hope you guys are doing well out there on this Tuesday night. If you're in the New Jersey area like we are, it is sweltering out right now. Finished up my first show, had to help cut down a tree in 90-degree weather. Don't recommend it. Anyway, alongside me today on Tales from the Film Set is Mr. Robert Luckington, a longtime actor, musician, drummer on an episode of Gotham, if memory serves. And basically, we're going to be talking some movies, talking some TV shows, and honestly, maybe even talking a little smack, depending on how it works out. But probably not. Bob's one of the nicest people on the planet. But just the same, how you doing, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
No problem, dude. No problem. Like I said, we're going to talk some stuff here. Some stuff in the news. Fast and the Furious 9 we might bring up a little bit of today. You can say you're not in the head of possibly approval in this case here. So this is going to be kind of interesting because talked about it, I think, last week. Fast and the Furious 9 being the 10th movie in the franchise. And spoiler alert, they went into space. I'm so happy, and it's so dumb. I don't know. Have you ever seen any of those movies?
I have. I saw like the first few, and then after the third or fourth one, I just kind of lost a little bit of interest. But I've kind of seen them every once in a while. I'll watch like Tokyo Drift. I think was the third or the fourth?
The third, but I think the sixth in the storyline.
Okay, yeah. That was actually a pretty interesting film. You had like the southern kid that went over to Japan and was one of those drifter type people, with the vehicles and everything himself. But then he kind of learned a lot more about the whole drifting once he got over there to Japan and everything. So I thought that was pretty wild. But
as these movies continue to go on, they went from stolen DVD players and the first movie to now literally flying off into space to destroy a satellite. I'd like to just point out, just to refresh the court's memory, there are 2 more movies in the franchise planned. I am fully expecting that either A, they will land on the moon and drive on the moon, kind of like Armageddon, which we can talk about that movie a little bit too. Or B, they'll probably end up in time travel or like a multiverse, like kind of just go in the direction like Sharknado did. Where it's just like, you know what, we're done. We're just going to go into whatever. We don't care anymore. So I'm really kind of curious in this case here. I'm very happy for it though. But we got a lot of stuff to cover today. Find us always on Twitter at Film Set Tales, and also on Facebook and also Instagram on Tales from the Film Set. Routinely, I post on there news stories, what's happening in the industry, historical things. So we're going to be talking a little bit today about the how yesterday was the 22-year anniversary of the release of both the South Park movie and, as it turns out, the fantastic, classical, hilariously bad Wild Wild West. I'll talk a little bit about that. Today is the anniversary of the release of Coming to America, so I plan to bring up that a little bit too, because the sequel ruined my childhood, and I plan to go into that one in a little detail. But at the risk of keeping me babbling the entire way through this show, Bob, roll with it. Thoughts, ideas, comments, anything you like, anything you don't like, anything you got to get off your chest.
Yeah, no, I, being an actor and everything, I've been in a lot of productions. I've filmed quite a bit over the years. Not as much as you, but I pretty much kept like a full-time job. So my, I had bills and things like that. So I wasn't able to really get out there and work as much as I could. I didn't actually make it a full-time thing for myself. I ended up working like a full-time job in electronics. So, but lately, I've been getting in with a new acting coach, and he's really like, he's not like some of the other acting coaches that I've had where, they've said, okay, you're great, you're doing good and everything. This particular acting coach, he's like to the point, he'll let you know if you did something wrong, or he'll give you notes. Basically, in the industry, they give you notes.
Yeah, so, which is a nice way of saying you're trash. least they said it to me. At least to me, anyway.
Right. But yeah, so he's kind of helping me move forward a little bit better with some of the stuff that I'm working on now. I recently did a Shakespeare monologue from Henry IV, which for me, that was rough. It took me quite a while to actually learn that particular monologue. So with his help, he kind of gave us, the direction of where this particular character was. Hotspur. Hotspur was the name of the character.
Okay.
So anyway,
I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, yeah, he's like a fiery character. He's like not like a general, but he's like an army leader in the British Army, and so he's got like fire in him. He wants to like bring his people together so that they can revolt, kind of thing. And over the course of the first few weeks that I was learning that monologue, I wasn't really connecting with that particular aspect of what it is that was needed for that particular character. And so with his help, he helped me get that. So I'm really thankful for him for that. Yeah, I mean, it's brutal out there, though, as far as auditions go and things like that. I don't know. Yeah. Have you been on very many lately, or?
Auditions, I've done a few here and there. One benefit I will say for the two of us being in New Jersey is we don't have to go to the city anymore. Pretty much all of them are done remotely through video, callbacks through Zoom or even like Restream or something like that. So the whole idea of getting yourself gussied up, going all the way out to Manhattan to audition for a 2-minute thing and then work your way out, which by itself, that travel alone can be an hour and a half.
Like, yeah, at least. At least.
People it's always funny. People in New York City are like, oh my God, it took me 18 minutes on the A train to get here. And I'm like, yeah, hold my beer. It's like, yeah. But
exactly, Bergen County, just to get across the George Washington Bridge or even through the tunnels, it's brutal. Like during that time, like when that you need to get someplace, right? You need to get to like Midtown or even to like Broadway, where a lot of those auditions are, for the most part, they're in that general vicinity, Times Square. So when that you need to get to that location, you got to be there at a certain time. It's always the fact that you got to deal with the yellow taxis and all the tourists, and it's not really a complaint, but that's what makes New York City great, I think. But when you need to get someplace, it's tough. It's tough.
Leave a week and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, now that COVID's kind of sort of going in the past. Sorry to you guys in Canada right now. I know COVID's like right in your face, but here for the rest of us, I mean, we're no longer using masks over here because we're pretty much all vaccinated by now. But for a while when COVID was big, I mean, the city was empty. It was like I Am Legend or something. And now it's back to normal again. What's that?
You see that brushweed running across the. You see the brushweed running across the streets.
You almost think you're going to hear like cowboy music or something going.
Exactly.
But it's nice in this case because the auditions, like I said, are usually just done from the other part of the room here.
Exactly. And, I've done just within the last month. In the last month, I've done probably 6 or 7 auditions.
Nice.
But
from the house.
Yeah.
From the house.
Yeah. It's like I have a room. Actually, it's in our basement of our apartment complex that I do most of my self tapes in, which is nice, because it's quiet down there. We basically have like a storage room, locker down there, which is big enough for me to really set up the camera, set up my my background, and then just do the scene. So yeah, I mean, it's really easy. I just go straight downstairs, man.
Nice. Nobody has any clue. Nobody on the other side has any clue.
True.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right, so what have you been auditioning for? I mean, you said you had like 6 at this, last.
Yeah. My agent down south. I have an agent in Louisiana. She's sent me out for a bunch of stuff that's based in New York City, which is interesting. I think the last 2 that I've done, Who I did a janitor for like an independent film.
Okay.
It was basically like it wasn't an ultra low budget. It was actually like a what do you call that?
Mid budget.
Mid budget, right?
Yeah,
So
modified low budget.
right, you being in the union, you know, you understand all that. You know, as far as me, I'm a
Still
non-union
kind of
actor. Being a non-union actor, you know, I'm able to do very few SAG franchised films or TV shows for that matter. But this particular one was like a mid-level budget. Wasn't really. I don't know if it was a union based role. I don't know. Anyway, so it was just basically I had a couple janitor roles. There was like a ticket taker role for I think it was Ray Donovan before it went.
Okay.
I think that Ray Donovan they ended filming last year, right?
Yeah, but they just finished up a movie too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They were running 18-hour days on that too.
That's yeah. I mean, I've heard some people that I know, some of the actors in my classes. They're just like they're actually working, which is good for them. I mean, they're out there for like 10 and 12-hour days, and I remember those days myself. We worked on the Batman film. You remember that?
Oh yeah,
The Dark
10
Knight
years
Rises
at this point.
Yeah, that was
God.
like we had a call time at like 3 a.m. Right? You remember that?
Yes, I
and
do.
Then we didn't actually start shooting until like 7:30 in the morning, and then we went all day, man. We went until probably 7 o'clock that night. I don't know. You guys probably broke before that, but
well, I was non-SAG at the time. The SAG people. What's interesting is because they would have to pay the SAG people a stunt contract for all of the stuff you did. So for the Batman, what he's talking about right now is he's talking about in the movie itself at the end, the giant cop charge, the giant thug charge, where, they go at it. All of those people were non-union people because if any one of them happened to be SAG background, they would have to pay them stunt rates. And so instead of paying, $100, $200, $300 a day, they'd be paying them, $2,000, $2,500. And even Christopher Nolan has a budget,
I heard, man, that was a lot of people were actually making money on that one, man.
Yeah, and it wasn't bad. I mean, we had a couple of rehearsal days. It was a lot of injuries. I'm not going to fully go into everything I could talk about, but I think if you were there the second day or no? The second day of filming?
You know what? I think that we did our scene together on a Friday, and then you came back the second day on a Saturday or something like that. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, like, I had shot a scene that Wednesday before that you and I got together on that one.
That's right. Yeah, because that was the rehearsal, I think.
Right. Well, and then we did shoot for 5 hours the looting scene out in front of the Park Avenue apartments where they were like pulling the people out and they were like throwing everything out onto the street. I never did that. I wasn't there for that part. That was actually pretty cool. I mean, we got to trash a lot of stuff, which was pretty wild. But what was interesting about that particular scene that we shot for that particular day was that not only did we get to like throw everything, they told us just pick stuff up and throw it, and that was actually kind of fun. I got my aggression out that day,
and got paid for it too.
Yeah, got paid for it too, right?
Got paid for it.
But not only that, but there was like a bunch of people that I met on that set that were like, "Hey, come work with me on this," or "Hey, you did a really great job. I'd like to connect with you at some point." And that was the best part, I thought, because over the course of the next few years, I was able to work with those people on different projects. So it was pretty amazing. I had a good time shooting those days,
and being able to say you were in a Batman film.
Exactly.
Beating up stuff for pay. And I think was that the stuff that was filmed in Newark? Because some of that was filmed in Jersey.
Yeah, they shot a scene, a building exploding, I think it was, in Newark.
Okay.
And then that was where I forget who played Catwoman in that film.
So that was Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, that's right.
Yes.
She was involved in that. She was over in Newark while we were over in Manhattan off of
Okay.
Wall Street. That's where we shot our scene in Wall Street.
That I remember, yeah, because they were doing Occupy Wall Street right down the block.
Exactly. I remember that as well, man. That was pretty wild. But yeah, no, I mean, I've been having a really good run, I think, is,
Mhm.
doing it as a part-time type thing. It would be nice to be involved in more, but like I
Mhm.
said, I work a full-time job and got to pay the bills and student loans, that type of thing. So, but yeah,
Yeah, that's unfortunately the problem. Bills do come first.
exactly.
And again, because also even with background work right now, the COVID test part of it, going all the way in the city for a 2.5 minute COVID test and then coming back out again, that's time
I
consuming.
tell you, like, we shot an episode of Mayor of Easttown down in Philadelphia, and that was
Mhm.
actually pretty cool because what they had us do was stay the night. They gave us
Okay.
the rapid test, right? And
Mhm.
then they made us. Oh man, it was so bad. They made us stay in a hotel room the night before,
Mhm.
so that when we woke up, we all had to meet at holding, and they had to
Mhm.
take another swab before they tested us. And then gave us our food and everything. And oh man, it was a rough deal. It
Yeah, I
really
was gonna say.
it was a stinky type of role, man. I mean, just that. Yeah, it was actually kind of cool because they made us stay the night in a hotel so that they
Mhm.
could keep tabs on us, I guess. And
Well,
but
when was that?
that was in September of last year,
Okay.
so probably more closer to October, I think it was,
Okay.
like late in September, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, because at this point, because I remember Philadelphia especially, but what they would do is they put people in hotels sometimes for upwards of a week,
Right,
require you to quarantine in the hotel.
right,
They'd swab you a couple of times, but they would pay you a day rate to stay in the hotel. So
exactly.
non-union background rate's $165. So you stay in a hotel for $165. They give you like a $20 or $30 per diem, so you can order
Right,
room service.
right.
And then yeah, so you're getting $200 a day. Granted, you probably go a little stir crazy. I'll give you that. But you know what? You bring the laptop, you got Wi-Fi,
Yep,
and they're paying you $200 a day to park your butt, take a nap whenever you want to,
exactly.
and some of these people were getting like 6, 7, 8 days of quarantine before
I
even filming.
I heard about that. I heard that there
You know,
was one or two people that they had brought down from New York that were on
yes.
the set the day that
Hmm.
I was there. They had been there for at least a few days. I don't know if they were like considered core or something like that. I
Hmm.
don't know, but as far as I was
Maybe
concerned, I was like,
so.
man, I want that. I mean, come
Yeah,
on
I
now.
know. Robin would be like, "Yeah, you're getting paid to be in a hotel, and I can watch whatever I want, and not have to hear it from you. Bye."
Exactly, exactly.
And yeah, it was funny because at that point there was no work going on, so you kind of take
Yep,
whatever you can get. So
exactly.
the thought of being able to get paid for multiple days, like that, not have to do any real work, and then okay, they want you downstairs maybe in the lobby at say 7 a.m. or something and take everybody to set.
Yep.
Fine. But I was talking to some of the people that did those 5 or 6 days, and they're like, yeah, you get a little bored and a little crazy after a while, but
Yeah.
one of the co-hosts that I have for the Sports Den, in his particular case with the job that he has, which I kind of have to be careful talking about, but there have been times where they've had to have him quarantine in the hotel for upwards of a
Right.
week or more for the big sporting events that he has, and he's
Okay.
like, you go crazy.
I bet.
Because being stuck in the hotel is one. Being stuck in your room is one thing. Being stuck in a hotel is tough too. But after a while, you just kind of live the life of house arrest,
Yeah.
and you
You
start
go
to really
stir
start
crazy.
want it. But I think a week, of getting paid, $200 a day, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can handle that. Like I
Yeah.
said, bring the laptop, got the Wi-Fi. It'll be a good life.
Even if you have like even if you have like the under fives, man, you get paid a little
Mhm.
bit more. That's
Sure.
that's the ticket right there. If you're in a scene for, the span of however long it takes for them to film that under five scene,
Hmm.
you're like you're racking up the cash, man.
Sure.
So That's always good.
I
have
don't
at
know
least
how.
a line or two. You know what I mean?
What's that?
To have at least a line or two. That way you get
Sure.
you get that bump.
Hey, I had a word in Kimmy Schmidt. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a single word in the Kimmy Schmidt movie. Very proud of myself there. I had the word yeah. You don't see me say it, but you see my face, and then you see the subtitle of it, and I got paid for it too. But yeah, my whopping one word.
And I've seen you in quite a few things, like Boardwalk Empire. I mean, as a background actor and a stand-in in Boardwalk Empire, you've done a pretty good body of work.
I'm fortunate that way. I was in a position financially where I didn't really have a lot of expenses. Fate's a funny thing sometimes, the way it works, where it kind of guides you from one step to another. And yeah, with Boardwalk, I mean, that was what, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, even depending on what year it was. The day I was on the Boardwalk was about 8 years ago, I think in 2013, September. And that was a really cool experience. But it was funny because the funny thing about it is I had the opportunity to really hit it off well with Steve Buscemi, but I was so shocked that he was talking to me that I just kind of went, bleh.
Yeah. A lot of actors are lucky. That's the cool thing. They don't have, they're not in their head where they feel like, you're beneath me kind of thing, which is cool. I mean, I've met a few actors myself that were like that. Lucy Liu was nice. I did an episode of, what was it? Elementary, I think it was. This is going back probably like 5 or 6 years, but
I love that show. It was so well done.
Yeah. I had a good time with that particular role. That I did an episode of NYC 22.
Yes. Okay. That lasted one season, I think.
Yeah. I still have the Hispanic girl that played the cop. I can't remember her name. Oh man, I'm bad with names, but she and I are friends on Facebook, and every once in a while we send messages or whatever. But Adam Goldberg was the real star of the show.
Yes.
And even though he was kind of standoffish a little bit, he did kind of crack jokes, which was cool, and kind of made us feel, like we were a part of the team, which was really good. That episode that I did in Gotham,
the drum one,
Cameron Monaghan played the Joker in that particular scene, and he and I were kind of trading ideas about what he was supposed to do with my character. I played a drummer in a rock band during a rock concert. It's season 4, episode 18. That's Entertainment is the name of the episode. So the Joker comes up on stage. He basically breaks up the rock concert. Everybody's running around trying to get away from being in the vicinity, I guess, of this, because there were people up on stage that had guns. So as I'm kind of walking towards the side of the stage to get off the stage, he says, no, you sit right back down. And so from that point on, we were like communicating either visually or, he was like telling me, do this kind of thing, which was cool because that was all part of the episode, and really nice kid, really nice guy. But, I mean, being involved in different productions and everything, you meet a lot of people and you come across those that are, I don't know, they're kind of, like I said, standoffish or whatever, but it kind of goes with it. I mean, when you're in a space like that, most characters, they want to stay within, or most people, I should say, they want to stay within character, or, any sort of deviation might kind of, make them lose track of what they're doing kind of thing. So it's always good to watch people when you're on a set.
I Daniel Day-Lewis kind of thing, yeah.
The crew. I mean, during that particular episode, I was watching the sound guys with the boom poles. That's kind of what I'm interested in now, is really doing my own thing where I'm doing small productions and things. So, if I can't act, I'd like to create my own stuff. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's where I'm at now.
Keep working basically as best you can. Keep at it. Keep building. That's the big thing.
Sure.
And then now you're hosting this tonight, so you reached the top. forget Gotham, forget, but no. Yes, congratulations. You're broadcasting out of Toronto to a network minority owned by Fox. Woo. So
nice.
Thank you, Zingo TV, by the way. Thank you, Zingo.
That's cool.
Yeah. So as always, by the way, you can find us on Twitter at Film Set Tales and also on Instagram and Facebook at Tales from the Film Set. Alongside me today is Mr. Robert Leckington, drummer, musician, actor, stunt guy, possibly, suave, debonair, charismatic, personable, outgoing, and rocking the facial hair photographer. Also, we must not forget that one as well. Sorry about that.
Definitely.
By the way, I looked up the name for that woman on NYC 22, Judy Marte.
Yes, that's her.
You're talking about Adam Goldberg. He was number one on the call sheet, and whenever you're number one, it like multiplies the stress level by like 1,000. Oh yeah.
I kind of got that feeling. I mean, being around some of those, even the crew, they kind of are like, ooh, I got my thing I got to do, kind of stand back kind of thing. And so I totally admire that, they're doing their thing. I try not to bug anybody and say, hey, what do I do here kind of thing. And, I more or less just watch people and understand what they're doing. That way I can at least have an idea of what I'm supposed to do. And, I try and keep it that way. That way, I don't become the pest, I mean, that's another thing too. I noticed that there are a lot of people, even background actors that may have done like their first job or something. And they don't really have any idea what it is that they're supposed to do. And I keep saying, hey, just let them tell you what they want you to do kind of thing. And, just be mindful of what's going on around you and listen to what people say. And usually people are just, they get along that way,
Somebody that I've known for years that actually ironically did push-ups at my wedding told me once that it takes 100 days on set to fully understand it. And I think that number is probably about right, because initially you don't necessarily get it, but then over time you start to pick things up. Now, personally, for me, I'm a really slow learner. I'm kind of dumb that way. So I was at 450 at least. And I'm like, oh, look at that. I didn't realize how that worked, and it's just like, I'm just oblivious. But that's the funny thing about it is you come in very naive a lot of times. Me, I was selling life insurance, just before I went into this. So I had no idea how television worked. I had no idea that it took, 16, 17, 18 takes or more to do one minute scene there. You think, okay, the film would turn around. No, you spend 15 hours doing 4 minutes of a TV show.
Your first show that you did, wasn't that the boxing show? What was
Lights
that?
Out.
Lights Out.
Lights Out. Yeah.
I think that you and I had like crossed paths on that show. I did a couple episodes involved in that the big boxing match between him and what was
the other guy? Yeah,
the other guy.
the other guy. I just know that basically that was for me 3 long days. I think they did 4 overall.
Right,
just long 16, 17-hour days, very stunt heavy, and Holt McCallany was the actor that played the main guy.
Right.
Stacy Peach was his father because I was excited because I was in the presence of Mike Hammer. And that was kind of a cool thing. This is when you're 11, Mike Hammer. I was 11 in 1986, so Mike Hammer was big back then. And it's like, oh my God, it's Mike Hammer. And it was a neat experience, but it was funny because when you look at it going back, looking back on it years later, that show had no shot because the budget was just so through the roof. Because they would hit golden time constantly. They'd hit penalties. They were it was a first year show.
I do remember that.
That's actually where I met said push up and wedding guy. But he as a SAG person, he made golden time, I think 3 days in a row. So you make hundreds upon hundreds of dollars a day. And me at that time, I was making $85 for 10 hours. If you remember the rate back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, the reason why you and I had gotten into that show in the beginning was because
I was going to go to the search if you didn't.
We had taken that class together, and that's how we met. And that we had been on a lot of different projects. I think my first project working at, because it was basically like an acting class / get you in front of the camera / get your first headshot / take a class or two or whatever it was that we were doing at that time. And
Yeah,
my first background role that I had done was on, oh God, what was that? The Matt Damon film, Adjustment Bureau.
Oh, wow. Okay, I forgot about that one entirely.
That one was that I was involved in that in probably like October or November of 2009 when they were shooting it. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were at Fordham University, right? They were doing like the whole crowd scene where they were trying to get, like, in the film, he's running for state senate. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's trying to get this crowd all riled up and, hey, vote for me kind of thing. Well, it turned out that there was probably only, maybe at the most, maybe 300-400 people. But on screen, they made it look as if there was like this huge crowd of like 10,000, 20,000 people. And just the way that they had done it and everything was, an experience for me, being my first, being on camera for the first time in that, that aspect kind of thing.
Did they do the thing? Did they do the thing where they basically, they made you stand up, sit down, move to a different spot, stand up, sit down,
They did.
Like all the way through the stadium?
Well, I mean, it was at the quad at Fordham University. It was all outdoors. It was cold because it was in November, I think it was actually. Because
in Long Island, yeah, fair.
Yeah, it had snowed like the weekend before that they were shooting this particular scene. And I remember it still being cold and the snow was still there. But yeah, they had us like move in different areas within the quad. And then they just sort of, I guess, take snapshots or how, I don't know how they do it, but it's amazing how they do it to begin with the graphics and the CGI and that type of thing. So, but yeah, I mean, being on that, I wanted more, man. You know what it was like. It was like, once you get onto a film set or a TV set or whatever, you're like, man, this is what I want, So, yeah, I mean, I didn't actually get my headshot. That particular class that we were involved in, you had to have it within a certain time frame because you really wanted to get us out there.
It was like about an hour and a half, if that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that guy. I got to tell you some stories. I got some stories on that, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
He was interesting. So I mentioned before that basically, it was $85 for 10 hours. So it doesn't matter if you were in for 1 hour or 10 hours, it doesn't matter. You're getting $85. But then of course you have to pay, you're paying travel because again, New Jersey and New York, you're paying taxes because the government likes that. And then additionally, you had to pay that man 15% of whatever you earned.
Exactly.
On gross. So
on gross, yes.
On gross. So if it's $85, he's getting, I don't know, say 10, 12, whatever it is there. Travel was probably $15. Taxes were probably about 20, we'll say. So you're walking away on like an $85 day with like $30.
If that,
But the funny thing was, it was, at least for me, the idea that I can make money doing something enjoyable, get fed for it, which was nice. I hadn't seen that kind of a buffet before, but not have to sell anything. Coming from the sales world full time, your entire aspect is what they call ABC, always be closing. So you get trained to look at every human being as a potential close target because you have numbers you got to hit, quotas you got to write on the board and everything. And I was just enamored by the fact that I didn't have to do that anymore. And I could just talk to a person like a person and not as like a quota. It's something to have a quota with. And it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But the price to pay was the fact that, you were blur number 162 and the guy whose name was literally two different names depending on the day.
Right. I remember that.
I would run into, this is what I was going to mention to you. I run into that guy once in a very blue moon, believe it or not. I think the last time was about 2 or 3 years ago. And it was weird because when I ran into him, I guess maybe 3 years ago, he was peppering me with so many questions on like how to get started in the industry, what to look for, what to do, he wanted me to explain Actors Access, casting networks, Mandy, wanted me to explain, how to submit for things. And I was really surprised that the very, rudimentary 101 level questions I was getting from the guy that literally got us both started in this industry.
Exactly.
But I do actually, in fact, have that headshot. It was
Same here.
Terrible pick. Oh my God. First of all, you don't wear red. Second of all, I didn't shave. I had like, a 2-day shadow. And it was about $500, if I remember right.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. Brutally expensive. And I remember because the guy was just like, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to do this, very Italian Jersey kind of guy. It's like, all right. And he worked with an Italian Jersey looking guy.
Exactly.
And like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to basically get you some headshots. I'm going to submit you for this. They got this movie here. They got this TV show. You look great. Give me an example. Basically, do a scene. Give me the money. Give me the money. That was great and fantastic. You were awesome. Love it. You are going to be a friggin' list. We just got to basically this.
I remember him telling me that he was going to make me a star. I'm going to make you a star.
I think he probably said the same thing to me. I will say this, though. To his credit, those acting classes were phenomenal. Some of the students weren't that great. And I remember some of the students. Some of them were meh, kind of. But for the value, the price that you got, and you got good quality people. I mean, Jeff Dreisbach now teaches over at Actors Connection. My first voiceover acting coach.
Same here. So, in fact, I think you and I took that class together. So
we did. That's I think where I met you. But it was weird for a noob like myself who had no idea what was going on. I felt very safe with it. One of the things I've noticed in classes, and you're taking acting classes now, is for me personally, I have a massive level of anxiety in those classes because everybody's watching. You put me on stage, I'm fine. When I did AGT, did not feel a lick of nerves. Make me do a monologue or a script in front of like 8 people on a camera in a class like that, and I'm terrified. Yeah. Real life, it's fine. In that class, boom, just right in front of the roof.
I'll tell you what, Thomas Waits is my acting coach now. He's a really great actor himself. He's been in a lot of different films as far as like 80s and 90s. He was working pretty steady, but he does his acting thing now on, basically from he started acting back in the 70s, actually, I should say, because he was at Juilliard back in the 60s.
Okay.
He was involved in the film The Warriors in 1979.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I thought that name looks familiar.
Yeah, so he taught Vinny Pastore, which is, you remember Big Pussy from The Sopranos. Yes. Okay, I had taken an acting class where Vinny was teaching. He recommended Thomas Waits as being a really good acting coach that I should look into. So, I had taken a bunch of classes with Vinny, and he's a really good teacher himself. But Thomas Waits, man, he's on a whole new level, man. He'll let you know if you screw up like right now. He won't he won't sugarcoat it or nothing.
Well, it's still fresh in your mind. Then.
Oh yeah. So yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like, if you screw up, it's right now. He'll stop. Okay, and then he'll say, "I want you to try it this way," or whatever direction he gives you, you pretty much go with it. But so anyway, I forgot what I was going with this, but he's a really good teacher that I'm taking classes with now. But like I said, he's got his own thing. In fact, he's got a movie premiere that he's invited us all to within the next couple of weeks, which is pretty cool because there's going to be some nice people there to kind of smooch up to and, be all nice with, and maybe might be able to get some kind of a networking thing going on with that. So, but like I said, I forgot what I was going with this. I think we were talking about him being my acting coach, but anyway. So I'm taking classes, doing really well.
I'm just looking at Tom's resume right now. So yeah. The thing. I remember that an episode of FBI just recently.
Exactly.
Okay. The last subway ride home. Okay, did a bunch of episodes of Law and Order too. Nice, good on him.
Yeah, he's a really good acting coach. He started teaching probably in the mid '80s.
Okay.
Late '80s, something like that. So he's had a lot of actors that have gone on to do different things. Vinny Pastor being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of fortunate enough to be taking a class with him because he's one of those good coaches that a lot of people want to take their class from. And even though his classes are limited and things like that, you can kind of get in. Well, once you get in, you better stay in because you could lose out really fast if you if you
Someone
take like a
spot instantly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
Nice.
well,
So, cool.
yeah.
So
that's what's going on with
actually,
me.
not bad.
Yeah, and then really with music and things like that, I'm trying to get something started. A friend of mine from Long Island has got, a project in mind that he's working on. Maybe, it's like we said earlier, it's kind of a rough deal going to Long Island because of the tolls and the driving and that kind of thing. So I'm kind of weighing my options with that. I'm trying to get as much as I can started here in New Jersey so that way I don't have to go to New York. But,
Our production
photography.
company doesn't have anything right now. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well, hey, that's all right, man. I mean, I got a few actor friends here that are interested in starting something. They just don't have any idea what it is. They do have like a couple ideas. I'm trying to work with them on trying to flesh that out kind of thing. Maybe I can do some video and sound or something, But
just
the
at least something
photography
to get
part,
back on the set. Yeah.
yeah. So the photography part, I'm kind of laying low a little bit with that. I think I have one other person that's interested, in getting headshots done. He's a classmate of mine in Thomas's class.
Okay.
So he saw some of the work that I've done, and he was like interested in getting some of his, shots done. Hey, anytime, man, let me know. And so
Now,
maybe
the question
something.
is he from New York City? Would you have to bridge and tunnel that?
Well, I mean, I did mention to him that like he's actually in Brooklyn, so if he wants to meet with me, like uptown or something, maybe we could meet like near Central Park or something like that, or even like because Brooklyn's down closer to like the south end of the island, so Battery Park might be a good place to go and take some photos, with like the Statue of Liberty in the background kind of thing,
Yeah, that whole Wall Street area gives you 1,000 different options.
Oh yeah. You got the bull. The bull down there, the statue.
Yes, that could work too. So nice. But all right. So we actually have about 8 minutes left. I'm probably going to start seeing the alerts in a couple minutes saying 5 minutes, 4 minutes, hurry up, get done. So we are going to have to slowly start little by little, start to have to wrap this up. But
no problem.
I'll talk after the show definitely with you because this has been fun. Yeah. I've missed this with you. I really have. But we'll talk about that a little later. You can always, as always, find us on Facebook and on Instagram at Tales from the Film Set, and also on Twitter at Film Set Tales. My trouble with Twitter, as I've often said on this show and the other show, is that they only limit 15 characters, which is why I have to name it something else. I did want to mention real quick that today is the anniversary, the 33-year anniversary of the release of Coming to America, which is tied for my favorite comedy of all time. Was okay with the sequel. I mean, it was all right. It brought back some stuff, but Coming to America held such a special place in my heart. As one of the ultimate like feel good comedies. Eddie Murphy in his prime, prime of that movie. So ironically, came out 33 years ago today. Believe it or not, to very mixed reviews. A lot of people were not crazy about it, but it's grown in popularity over time. South Park movie, like I said, and Wild Wild West released 22 years ago yesterday. The South Park movie, which ironically enough was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song with Blame Canada, which was actually, if memory serves, sung and danced by Robin Williams, I think, at the Oscars. But as the Oscars would have it, they're not going to give it to a South Park movie. They gave it to a Disney movie. So Tarzan got it. I was going to say also what else was out there? Wild Wild West, which, like I said, I'm one of the 8 people on the planet that didn't actually hate Wild Wild West. Everybody did. Will Smith turned down the role of the Matrix so he can do Wild Wild West. a decision that he has since actually more or less embraced, because when he watched The Matrix, he's like, yeah, I didn't really understand this movie when I was pitched the script. I didn't get it.
He was supposed to play Neo, wasn't it?
He was, yes. And Val Kilmer was initially going to be Morpheus.
Wow.
Which, because at that point, Val Kilmer was still kind of in his prime a little bit. He had done Batman Forever, which I think hurt it a little bit, but he had a few other things in the pipeline there. So he had done pretty well for a while. And it would have been an interesting tandem to see that versus Lawrence Fishburne and, of course, Keanu Reeves.
Sure.
The fourth reboot movie, whatever you want to call it, I'm not even sure, is coming out towards the end of this year, released directly to theaters and HBO Max. So I'll probably have to check that out.
Nice.
But I'm not sure if I'm going to like it or not. I have no idea.
Yeah. Now, wasn't Will Smith supposed to be involved in this? Or not?
He might be involved in this one. I know Sung Kang is involved.
Okay.
Selma Hayek, I think, just joined the cast as well. Very under the radar kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. No. I hope it does well too, because I always liked the Matrix series. They were really good films.
The sequels got ripped on a lot more than I think they deserve, but I was always a fan of those too, because they did what they could with it. Okay, now this is weird to me. Christina Ricci, okay, I can work with that. Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, he's a particular character, or what is it, like a bad guy?
It doesn't say what his name is in this case. It just says I'm looking at IMDb. It has him attached to this movie. Jada Pinkett Smith to that. Thelma Hopkins, who played the aunt on Family Matters, she's in this movie also.
Interesting.
So that's kind of interesting there, but I don't know. I'll be curious to see what happens. But I mean, I have HBO Max anyway, so you can't beat the price of sitting there watching it. So
Marvel movies on HBO Max, so
yeah, and Disney Plus apparently. Who would have thought that one? The Marvel. And here's the thing: we got only about 4 minutes left, but I personally, and I could be wrong on this, the Black Widow movie that's coming out in about a little over a week, I think will be a good movie, but I don't think it's going to do well in the box office. I think at this point, people are psychologically kind of closed off from the MCU after the way Infinity War ended. And as a result, I don't think it's going to do that well. I could be wrong. But just my take. I don't know if you have one of your own.
No, I think that because people, they stay home now because of the COVID, and not going into movie theaters. Movie theaters are slowly opening up, but I think that you're going to see a lot more people staying home rather than going to the movie theaters. So it won't do so well in the theaters, but it will probably do really well, like being streamed or however way that people watch.
Supposedly Disney Plus has it as a premiere access. So I'm not sure if they're going to charge probably between $20 and $40, I think, to watch it.
Probably.
My take is that's the way the future is going to be. It's a pay-per-view thing because the tickets themselves are so expensive, the food is so expensive, and you lack the ability to pause the movie. You got a long movie, you want to pause it every once in a while. When we saw when Rob and I saw Bill and Ted 3, we're halfway through, we're like, all right, we're taking a pee break, pause, when you have to pee in the theater, you do the fastest possible pee you can.
Yep.
But anyway, so we're about to close this out. A good conversation about urine is a great way to close this show, in my opinion. But we got about 2 minutes left. Bob, how can people get in contact with you, man?
Instagram, my username is Robert B. Leck 1. Facebook, it's Robert B. Leck 1. Twitter, it's Mr. M.R. Leckington, Leckington.
Nice.
I'm on TikTok. I believe it's Robert B. Leck 1 again. So I'm on pretty much all the social media websites. Anybody can find me pretty much anywhere. If you do a search for my name, I'm right there. All over the place.
So one way or another, they'll find you. All right. So we got to wrap this up at this point. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate this.
Thank you.
We'll talk after this, but I'd love to have you back as often as you want. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
This is a very smooth thing, so I want to go into that a little bit. But one more time, like I said, you can find us on Facebook and find us on Instagram at Tales from the Film Set. On there also, I will be uploading on a regular basis facts, trivia, nuances, videos, stories, the whole shebang. I'm very trivia focused, so that's a big part of it for me. Also on Twitter on Film Set Tales. So for this show, this is Tales from the Film Set. You can find us on 35 different platforms across at least 4 different continents. I think that number is higher at this point, but we'll go with that. For Mr. Robert Leckington, I am Scott Churchson. This has been Tales from the Film Set, even though the outro may be a little different. Have a good night, have a great day, and be awesome. Take care.